Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means, or what it used to mean. It's time for Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Holy crap. Hi, everybody. Hi. It's been ages. My hair's changed again. Wow, it's weird to be back online. But hello. It's nice to be here. It's been a time. It's been a time, my friends. And I'm sorry that I sort of pieced offline for a while. I just, it's been quite a year, and I'm sure that plenty of you have experienced that as well. So I don't need to tell you why it's been a year, but yeah, I really needed to sort of take about 20 steps back and go, okay, I need to focus on myself for a bit. Hello, yay. Cool, you're here. So I'll disable emote only chat for now. Yay, hi. But yes, we're back. And I'm still figuring out what I want things to look like. We're still only going to be doing 2 classes a week for the foreseeable future while I figure things out. I have a couple of ideas on how to sort of reduce the emotional load of streaming on myself so that I can keep a consistent schedule again with everything else that I have going on in my life right now. Which was the big thing, It was really just the world sort of opened up again, and I got a full-time job again, and suddenly like social events were a thing again, and it's just taken me a long time to try and settle my brain back into patterns of more interactions with people, and and to recognize too that it's okay and in fact desirable to not just go back to the way things were, but to be like, okay, what does this actually tell me about my needs and my emotional stamina and how I need to take care of myself? So anyway, lots of soul searching around that over the last, I think it's been a couple of months at this point. But yeah, so I'm gonna be figuring out some approaches. I have some thoughts already, and I'll let people know as thoughts turn into actual decisions. But for right now, we're here and we're gonna try and do a class and see how that goes. Yeah, my God, it's been a while for all of us. And I've been doing workouts on my own, but it's been a while since I've tried to work out and talk. So this will be very interesting, but I'm happy to be back. I hope that you are all doing as well as everybody can be expected to be doing in our current moment in history. And yeah, you'll be happy to know that I haven't stopped yawning in the afternoons. But okay, my friends, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time to work out and just see how we feel. So let's do our pre-class checklist. Hello, the triumphant return of my giant mason jar. So make sure you have your water in whatever vessel works for you. Take a quick sip beforehand, just sort of test how your hydration is. You've got your comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. So it can be spandex and moisture wicking and all that stuff, or it can be a cotton t-shirt and shorts. I do not care as long as you feel comfortable working out in it. You've got your mat or your mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time to turn it on to a high-intensity interval training setting. If you don't use one, that's A-okay. But okay, I think I've got everything. I've got the phone, I've got the speaker, I've got my water, I've got the lights going, I've got you. Holy crap. Yeah, let's do a class. We may not even do stretching afterwards. I want this to ease back in because I haven't done this in a while. You haven't done this in a while. We're gonna ease. We're gonna ease today, my friends. But we are going to start as we usually start with our warm-up. Yeah. So, everybody, let's get to it. Oh my goodness. Wow, we're here. We're working out. I have 50 million apps open on my phone. Why? Who knows? And my phone, it's been so long that my phone doesn't automatically pull up Ultra Timer right now. That's sad. But it's okay, that's why we're back. So everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that horn go off, we begin with hip rocks and bridges. Yeah! Oh my gosh, have you missed that sound? I've used this timer, so I haven't, been completely away from it, but yeah, oh man. So hopefully you remember our usual warm-up sequence, but I will try and talk through it a little bit more today. So we start with hip rocks and bridges. We've got this 1 foot over the opposite knee, so we get a little bit of a hip stretch as we pull the knees in towards us. And the hip rock really gets generated by the contraction of the abdominal muscles. So you're not just like pushing your foot off the floor and letting that do the work. You want to contract those abdominals to lift the hips up. And then foot back on the floor and then come up onto the ball of the foot and then do your bridge. So you can just get a little bit higher when you do that. All right, other side. And remembering, of course, that this warm-up is designed to help us to ramp up as we warm up. To ramp up as we warm up. So, you don't want to be immediately running a marathon when you haven't even stood up yet today. Your muscles aren't ready for that activity. Your energy production systems haven't been notified that they're going to be needed. Your brain is not thinking about the activation of muscle fibers for exercise. So we have this warm-up structured to basically engage all of the systems that we are going to use for exercise and do it in a way that we can slowly ramp up our intensity until we're ready for class. All right, so now we begin our leg sequence, starting lying straight on one side, doing our best Jane Fonda impression. We want our body in a nice straight line, okay? So you don't want the feet kicked forward or back. So if you struggle to get into this position by yourself, if you're not sure you're in it, it's okay to use a guide, like, say, the long edge of your mat, okay? So you can just line yourself up along that edge. And as you do the exercise, just really focus in and go, okay, how does this feel in my body? And that's how we start to train ourselves to be able to find these positions without needing a guide or an outside eye to help us get there, okay? And don't worry, we'll have time to do it again. But first, take that top foot, put it flat on the floor in front of the bottom knee. And now we're lifting the bottom leg. And this position can be a little bit uncomfortable because we want the knee to be pointing straight up in the ceiling. We don't want it to be caving forward. Depending on your hip flexibility, this may mean that you need to pull actively back to pull that knee into position. Or you may have a really flexible hip and be able to just sort of place your foot here. That's what I can do on this side. When we get to the other side, you will see the difference, and I'll talk a little bit about how I need to engage the muscles, particularly in my hip joint, to be able to keep my knee in this nice, safe position. And then we're just lifting that bottom leg. You understand that. Everybody sort of has this intrinsic understanding of that process. Now take that top foot flat on the floor behind the bottom knee, still lifting that bottom leg. This is our beach position, and it is the easiest one to maintain. We don't have to worry about pulling that knee back because we can just sort of put it into this position. It's not going to go anywhere. We don't have to worry about our balance or our hips rocking backwards or forwards because they got this nice stopper. So we can really just focus in on the leg lift itself and start to get a little bit of a sense of where you're feeling the muscle activation as you lift the leg. Obviously, the inner thigh is an obvious one. Like, we're all going to notice that. But do you notice the engagement coming up into your abdominals? They get in on the party a little bit. They contract, and that helps to pull that leg up. So these are the things I want you to start noticing as you go through the warm-up. All right, now we switch sides, and we do the same 3 things all over again, okay? So back to Jane Fonda. And when we're lifting the leg, again, we don't want it out in front of us or pulled way behind us. So what I recommend is just engaging the glutes on the working leg. Just that little bit of extra engagement helps to make sure that the leg is pulled into alignment with the rest of the body without pulling it behind yourself, okay? So if you feel like you're pulling the leg behind yourself, then you're probably going too far in the other direction. You're overcompensating, okay? So this can be a weird thing, again, to be able to feel for ourselves. So it may take a little bit of time before you can sort of naturally do the exercise in that line. All right, now top foot flat on the floor, in front of that bottom knee. Now you see what I mean about hip flexibility. So my knee on this side really wants to cave forward, which is not the end of the world in this exercise because I'm not putting any standing weight on this leg, but I want to be working on training myself to maintain those safe knee positions for when I am on my feet, when I'm doing squats, for instance. So I want to pull with the muscles, particularly the back of the hip joint, use that to pull the knee back and make sure that it stays in this position, pointing straight up at the ceiling or as close as I can get it. And it's a little harder for me on this side because my hip isn't as naturally flexible on that side. So it just takes a little bit more muscle engagement. And if it does for you as well, that's fine. All right, beach pose to round this out. And again, nice and chill. You can yawn while we're doing it. It doesn't make much of a difference. And in terms of foot placement for the working leg, I'm pretty agnostic about it. Different positions will sort of engage the muscles, particularly in your calves, differently. But it's really a matter of preference. So you can be doing this with a pointed foot. And if you have a dance background, that may be what you default to. I tend to go somewhere between just a neutral foot and a flex foot. And I don't really pay attention. It just sort of goes in between those two. So again, I'm not really worried about it. Just be aware that different foot placements are going to impact how the muscles are engaged in your calves. Cool. All right, now we move into opening up our backs and our hips. So we start with our scorpion twists. Ooh, it's been a while. So we got our forearms firmly planted on the floor. They are not going anywhere. They don't get to roll up. That elbow doesn't come up, nothing. Okay? And then we swing one leg back behind us, trying to get that foot flat on the floor, trying to get that knee pointing straight up towards the ceiling. But our forearms on the ground provide this natural stopping point based on the flexibility of our spine. So if you get to a point where you're like, well, I could go farther, but I would have to lift my elbow up, well, then you can't go farther yet, and that's okay. All right? So just use that as a guide to your flexibility, and then you'll be able to see how your flexibility improves over time. All right, now we're up on our feet. We're holding our imaginary PVC pipe up above our heads, and we're doing these nice big torso rotations. So I want to generate the movement from the hips, okay? I'm not moving the arms and diving after them. I'm not moving the head and diving down. I am doing a flat back from the hips, bringing myself down towards the floor. I can let my spine relax a little bit in the bottom of the position, and then back to a flat back, and then around again. I generally do 2 rotations in one direction, and then 2 rotations in the other direction, because we only do this one for a single timer, so you want to make sure that you're nice and evened out on both sides rather than just focusing on one. All right, and now our first set of squats. So we keep this fairly wide position, so shoulder width maybe even a little bit wider to start. We're still holding that imaginary PVC pipe above our heads, but we want to focus in on our squat form. So you want those knees to be going straight over the feet, not caving in towards each other at any point. And if you're not able to maintain that all the way down and all the way up, then narrow your stance, okay? And practice here. Practice for as long as you need to. Maybe one class, it may be multiple classes, maybe multiple months. Practice as long as you need to. And then when you feel that you've got the concept, you've strengthened up, you can go back to the wider position, test it out again, make sure you can maintain that form. All right, and now into our Samson stretches. So this is a nice opening of the front of the hip flexor. It's a good stretch if you're a runner in particular, or if you've been at a standing or a sitting desk all day. So we take this nice big lunge position, straight leg behind us. We want to keep those hips pointing forward. Sink into it so you really feel the opening in the hip flexor. Bring your arms up to the ceiling, then step back forward to that front foot, and other side. And we just go back and forth, and back and forth. And I'm not actively trying to bend at the back, okay? There is a bend in my spine just because of the overall position, but I'm not trying to intensify that, all right? Okay, now I'm gonna take a nice wide squat position, hands on the knees to help keep them levered out away from each other, and then twist one shoulder in towards the midline and then the other shoulder, all right? So we just go back and forth just like this. And the only things that are moving are your shoulders, okay? So we're not bouncing up and down out of the squat position. We're not letting our knees try and follow our shoulders as they come in towards the midline, okay? Everything else is totally stationary. You get that nice stretch, particularly along the bottom of the thighs, and you're introducing this twist and this stretch into the top of the spine. All right, jumping jacks. So we've hit the cardio section of our warm-up, and that means we start with jumping jacks. And you want to make sure that you are on a safe surface for any jumping-based exercises, okay? So if you're working out on, say, concrete or hardwood, you want to make sure that you have a nice thick pad that you can exercise on. So I've got these puzzle pieces, and I'll hold one up in a second, but they're like an inch thick at least, and that helps to protect my joints as I do jumping exercises, okay? If you don't have something like that available, sneakers can also help, okay? Now, bet you haven't missed kick throughs, huh? So we put One hand flat on the floor, shoulder directly over the wrist. The opposite foot flat on the floor, trying to get a 90-degree angle in the leg. And we stand on that leg, kick the other leg across the body, then rotate into the center, switch hands, switch feet, other side. And we just go back and forth and back and forth. And there are a lot of moving parts to this exercise, so take your time learning it, take your time digging into it, all right? Don't rush yourself. You can build speed as you build experience. All right, and now we finish with everybody's favorite, burpees. Huzzah! So for my class, I have you jump back into a plank, but then you do a wave push-up, and then jump those feet forward, and then that was terrible. As you jump up, you do a victory clap up at the top of the jump, and then repeat. So here we are at the end of the warm-up. So this is the most energy that we will expend during the warm-up. We're still not at 100% because we've got, 45 minutes of class left, and we don't want to end up using all of our energy during the warm-up. But that was the most energy you will use during the warm-up. All right. Woo! Oh gosh. Apparently, I forgot to turn my stopwatch off ages ago, and it was up to something like 1,300 minutes, which isn't right. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, man, it feels nice to be back. It feels really nice to be back. So remember, whenever we do these 2-minute breaks between sets, take that opportunity to grab some water. Because we expend a lot of water while we're exercising. And not just because we're sweating, because, oh, hello! Yeah, good to see you in chat. But even just the act of breathing, okay? Breathing expends water as well. Just lots of little water droplets. I feel like we're all experts on droplet patterns through breath now. But yeah, so you want to make sure that you're hydrating before, during, and after class, which is why this is on our pre-class checklist. All right. Today, I'm going to use an old class plan because really my goal was just to get back into the swing of things. And this happens to be open in front of me. So, we're going to do a lot of tabatas, and we're going to scale up the amount of work time and then scale it back down. So we're doing a big, an overall class pyramid, essentially. So we're going to start with 20 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest. We're going to start with our old friends, the flying chickens. So feet together on the floor, thumbs at chest height. If you wear a bra, you can hook them behind your bra straps. And we're going to jump up and up and up and up. So each time you jump, you bring the elbows up and then down when you land. Each time you jump, you bring the feet apart in the air and then land them back down in the same place. Okay? So we're going to do flying chickens, and then we are going to do knee obliques. So start in a balance in this pike position. We do this a lot. But twist your knees so that they are pointing in one direction. So right now I'm pointing mine towards the wall. And then you want to contract the obliques to pull the knees in towards your chest, then release, bring them back through the center, point them to the other side, and then other side, okay? So we just go back and forth, and back and forth. Alrighty? And those are going to be our exercises. So we're going to go back and forth between them. Again, 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. Oh my goodness, it's really happening. Okay, so that sound is our stop sound. Then knock, knock, knock tells us to get in position, because as soon as we hear that fanfare, it's time to start going. All right? And so when we get into this part of class where we're doing our exercises, always remember that the final arbiter on when you change exercises or when you stop moving is that sound, okay? I will get distracted, I'll start talking about stuff and miss the horn, so always listen for the timer, not for me, and that will tell you when to move back and forth from exercise to exercise. All right, I do love a good oblique exercise. I've been adding a lot of abdominal exercises to my repertoire, and you know, it's not like I had so few of them to begin with, but it's definitely been something that I've focused on. So yeah, just get excited, because we're gonna do so much abdominal work. Yeah. I'm sure you've missed that. I've missed that. I have absolutely missed getting to teach. And I can tell that a little bit of my teaching breath support has gone away, because it's been so long since I've tried to talk and exercise at the same time. And that's fine. I'll just have to build back up. And the nice thing is, because I had basically raised the floor of my fitness, I'm not going to have as far to go, you know? And that's the nice thing. Like, detraining is absolutely a thing that happens if you take too long off from exercise or from any particular activity. But your body doesn't lose the memory, the form that it had drilled into it. And so it's always going to be easier to build back up to where you were than it was to get there in the first place. Because you haven't forgotten what you knew. You just need to rebuild that strength, you know? You need to pull all of that muscle memory out of cold storage and go, oh yeah, this is what this is supposed to feel like, okay? And I want you all to, you know, think about that. And I want me to think about that too. Because honestly, that's one of the things I hear so often is just people being scared to start again because they have this memory of when they were at their best, you know, when their performance was the best that it could be, and they're not there anymore. And, you know, that's true. And I'm not going to tell you that it's not hard, because it absolutely is, you know, but the important thing to know is that you can build back up to it, all right? It's not lost. It's just hibernating. You just need to coax it out again, okay? So I say this for myself as much as for anyone else, because this absolutely happens to me. Sorry, I'm gonna blow my nose, forgive me. And it causes me to delay on starting things again because I'm afraid that I'm not going to be as good as I was. And you know what? I'm not. But I'm not going to get any better by sitting there wishing that I was still at my peak form. I'm going to get better by starting to do the work again. And again, what do we talk about? Perfect is the enemy of good. Okay? We're not striving for perfection here. Perfection is an unattainable goal, and it does more to demotivate us than anything else. This assumption that we have to be perfect, this assumption that we have to immediately be where we were at the apex of our ability. This does more to stop us and demotivate us than anything else. So just, be able to laugh at yourself. Be able to laugh at, how run down you feel after this class. Because it's going to get better, all right? But it's not going to get better unless we start. Speaking of starting, all right. So next tabata is going to be 30 seconds of work to 10 seconds of rest. I hope you're drinking water because I'm just talking the whole time. There we go. And our exercises are going to be, let's see here. Let's do some high knee runs, okay? So we're basically running in place. We want these knees to get up above the crease in our hips. So we're just going back and forth, and you see how high I'm bringing my knees up. That's our goal. And if you're not able to make that yet, then your goal is getting your knees up as high as you can every single time, okay? And second exercise, we're gonna do more abs because I find it fun. So we're gonna start lying down on the ground, arms extended above our heads, and we're just literally going to contract the abdominals and sit ourselves all the way up and then roll back down, okay? So I want you in control. We're not just flopping down. You want these muscles to be in control of the movement the whole time. And then up and down and up and down like that. And I think we will, no, we're just gonna do that. You know what? We're just gonna do that today. Again, trying to remind myself that it's okay for us to ease back in. And really, you can just tell that I'm just trying to remind myself of this stuff mostly. So, is it gonna be the most intense class we've ever done? No. And is that okay? Absolutely. All right, get ready, get set. Now remembering that this time our work interval is 30 seconds. So we've got an extra 10 seconds that we have to keep moving, okay? So you want to pay attention to how that impacts your overall energy output, all right? And obviously, one of the things we focus on in our Wednesday class is cardio, which generally what we want to emphasize is sprinting, is going for speed and consistency. But it's also always important to, again, give ourselves the ability to ease back in and to work back up to where we were, okay? So you do not have to be going for PRs in number of reps today, okay? You can really just hunker down and go, all right, my goal today is to start moving when the timer tells me to start and to keep moving until it tells me to stop, all right? And that is a great goal for today, you know? That is gonna help us
build stamina, and it's going to demonstrate to us that we do have the capacity to keep going the whole time, okay? Woo! Oh, always remember the power of cheering ourselves on. Okay, and particularly for these sit-ups, sort of very literal sit-ups, one thing that can really help us is that exhale on the effort, okay? So where am I expending the most effort? It's when I contract to lift myself into that seated position. So I wanna, if I do a nice big exhale there, that helps to motivate and move me through that effort, helps to remind me to keep my cardiovascular system engaged the whole time so I don't accidentally end up, holding my breath or anything like that. And it can be subbed out for your best war cry or cheer or anything like that. All right? Woo! But always, never underestimate the power of these self-motivation tools. Okay? Because they will help you keep going. And this isn't to say that we don't also want to be able to clearly identify when we are at our limit and need to take a step back. That is super important. And hopefully I emphasized it enough for you to still remember that that's super important, even though it's been a few months. But there is a midpoint where, well, not a midpoint. There is a point where our brains have the potential to decide that we're done, even if our body still has capacity to keep going. And that's, a self-preservation mechanism on the part of our brains. Their goal is to make sure that if a saber-toothed tiger broke into my room right now and I was forced to run for my life, that I would still have enough energy to be able to do that. So we don't blame our brains for trying to convince us that it's time to stop. But we also want to learn how to gently and lovingly tell them, no, I can keep going. I have the capacity. So that's one of the things that we really want to focus in on in this class. And classes like this give us a nice, safe, easily digestible space to practice pushing ourselves a little bit further than where we think our limit is, while still reminding ourselves that our bodies really do have clear differentiation and signals between, oh, well, I'm tired, but I can keep doing this, and no, if I keep doing this, I'm gonna fuck something up, or, oh, something is very wrong, we need to stop moving right now, okay? And one of our goals in class is to learn how to improve the communication pathways between body and brain, all right? And that can be really hard. That can honestly be one of the trickiest things. If you're not used to having that dialogue, and there are plenty of reasons why you might not be, then opening up, trade negotiations between brain and body can be the hardest and yet most rewarding thing that you do in class, okay? So always remember that. Always keep that firmly at the top of your priority list for class, is just learning how to open ourselves up so that we can hear and then act on the signals that our bodies are sending us. All right, now we're going for our longest stretch yet. 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. So we've added an additional 5 seconds of rest. Woo! But we've also added another 15 seconds of work. So, you know, is it worth it? Who knows? Only you can say. I think it is. But our exercises for this round are going to be, first we're going to do bicycles. So lying on your back, contracting those abdominals to lift back, shoulders, chest off the ground. One knee in towards the chest, the other leg extended but held up. Opposite elbow to knee. Switch, switch, switch. You just go back and forth like that. And then our other exercise, we're going to jump rope. Don't have a jump rope? That's okay. Just pretend that you do. So elbows at your sides, pretending that you're holding the handles. Yes, I do want you to rotate the jump rope as if you had one. And we're just jumping, okay? It's easy peasy. All right. So let's, gonna update that. There we are. All right, let's get ready. Now remember, oh no, that was perpetual motion. That's not what I wanted. That would have been a big shock to us all. Now remember that we have an extra 5 seconds of rest, so it may feel a little disconcerting. You may be tempted to go, oh my God, did I miss the starting sound? I do that all the time, but I promise you haven't. So there was our knocking. So into position and go. So the knocking still happens 5 seconds before the fanfare, okay? So you know that you have a little extra time to sort of relax as you're moving slowly into position, but once you hear that knocking sound, you have the same 5 seconds that you usually do to transition into position, okay? So just keep that in mind. I think that is the most important thing to know about this timer, honestly, and I have never really called it out before, but yeah, so we get extra time on the front end, but when you hear that knocking sound, you know that you gotta get ready, get set, because in 1 second, there we go. All right. And when we're doing our jump ropes, I don't generally give a ton of form notes here because it's a fairly self-explanatory movement. One of the few things that I would recommend is just making sure that your core is engaged, your abdominal muscles are engaged, okay? And what do I mean when I say that? Well, so when we activate a muscle fiber, it is automatically going to try to contract. Whether it can or not, and whether it can shorten or not, is dependent on how strong the external force is on that muscle. Sometimes the external force is so great that it will cause the muscle to lengthen instead of contract. Sometimes the external force is enough to prevent the muscle from contracting, but not enough to lengthen it. So you can feel that the muscle is working, the muscle's trying to contract, the outside force is trying to extend, and neither one's winning that battle. And so you just feel the Activation is what I call it. Engagement is another word I use for it. Tension might be one that makes sense to you. But yeah, that's the feeling you're going for. And that's what I'm trying to express when I tell you to engage a particular muscle. So when we do something like jumping jacks, I'm not contracting my abdominals so far that I'm actually, shortening them, nor am I lengthening them, but I have them just sort of activated, they're engaged, and that helps me to stay present in this one spot on my mat. I don't want to be, flying all over the place. I don't want my legs to be drifting in and out, and that abdominal activation helps to remind me and to remind my body that we're just staying right here, all right? So that's what we look for in a lot of these jumping exercises, is enough abdominal engagement so that it helps us to maintain the position. And with some exercises, ones where your limbs are moving around but then have to come back to that middle position, that abdominal engagement serves the additional purpose of providing a guide. So, for example, if we're doing jumping jacks, I want that abdominal engagement so that no matter where my feet are, they always snap back to the same starting place. And no matter where my hands are, they always snap back to the same starting place. Okay? So that's what we focus on for these jumping exercises. So jump rope, jumping jacks, flying chickens, high knee runs as well. With high knee runs and flaming scarlets, you have an additional abdominal component because the contraction of the abdominal muscles is actually also helping to pull the knee up higher, So those exercises, I think it's a little easier to remind ourselves that, yes, the abs are playing a part in this movement. It can be harder with something like this. It's a very contained movement, and it can be sort of easy to just, muscle memory and let everything just sort of go in whatever direction it's trying to go in. So as we get more experienced, it becomes easier to notice these things and to keep our muscles engaged through an exercise, even if that particular muscle group isn't the primary muscle group getting worked by an exercise, okay? And that's a really important thing to think about. Every exercise, targets specific muscle groups. And it's really easy and obvious to feel the engagement of those muscle groups. But there are also plenty of other secondary and tertiary muscle groups that are also involved. And as we become, again, more experienced at listening to our bodies and just parsing the experience that they're having, it becomes a lot more obvious to us what those secondary and tertiary muscle groups are. And it allows us to focus in on making sure that they're engaged and working properly. Because you want to make sure that you're activating all your muscle groups correctly in order to maintain the form of an exercise, right? So it's important for me to remember to keep my abdominals engaged while I do this jump rope, because that is just as important a part of the overall form. Woo! All right, good grief. Yeah, this is the first like major workout I think I've done in a while. Man. All right, so we are gonna go back down the line. So we're gonna go back to 30 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest. Woo! So less rest again, but less exercise time too. All right. And what are the exercises going to be? Well, let's see here. I think one of the exercises is going to be side-to-side planks, okay? So this is a great shoulder strengthening exercise. We start in our front plank position, shoulders directly over wrists. We let our heels fall down to one side, come up on one arm. Other arm reaches right up towards the ceiling. Then back through the center and to the other side. And we just go back and forth and back and forth, okay? Second exercise is going to be, I think we're gonna do our aerobics knees, as I call them. So we're taking our feet about hip width apart, maybe slightly wider, maybe not. And a small squat, so no more than like 45 degrees. We're not going super far down, because then we're basically just using the squat as propulsion to push us up, to stand on one leg, lift the other knee, and bring opposite elbow to knee. So down, up, down, other side, down, up, down, other side, just like that, okay? All right, so side-to-side planks and aerobics knees. Woohoo! All righty. I'm excited for side-to-side planks. You'll know how much I enjoy an exercise that helps me to strengthen my shoulders. So, ready, get set, and go. And we want to really focus in on the shoulder is fully engaged. I'm not letting myself sink down towards the floor. I always feel that muscle, that strength pushing me away from the ground, okay? No matter where I am in the exercise. Super important. It's the thing that we're focusing on the most with that exercise. All right. And here we go. I can see how much talking and how little hydrating I have been doing. And wow, that is, I had forgotten how hard it can be to maintain my own hydration during class, because, you know, in addition to sweating and to breathing heavily and all that jazz, I am also talking. And that just adds another wrinkle. Now, when we're doing our side-to-side planks, or anything that requires hand flat on the floor, this type of wrist extension, if you have bad wrists, you can always do these exercises from on top of a fist. so that you're keeping your wrist completely straight. Or you can get dumbbells and use them basically as handles. They're not going to keep your wrist as straight, but they will mitigate a lot of the issue, okay? So always make sure that you understand what modifications you may need to make to any given exercise in order to make it safe for you, all right? Because you know your body and you know your injury map far better than I do. And so these are modifications that you can build up, and you don't need a teacher to specifically tell you to do them, okay? If you know that you have wrist issues, then you should always come to class prepared to modify any exercises like this to make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on your wrists, okay? If you know that you have shoulder issues, then same thing. You need to know what you can modify, and you need to be able to identify if you just need to stop doing an exercise and ask for a replacement, or just do a replacement if you are taking an online class that doesn't really allow for easy asking the teacher for modifications. But this is information that it is critical for you to have, okay? Absolutely critical that you have this understanding, and more importantly, that you are able to push back against anyone trying to convince you to do something that you know isn't healthy for your body, okay? So if you are aware that you have wrist issues and yet your teacher is insisting that you put the full force of your body weight on that extended wrist, well, then that's not a good teacher, okay? And it can be, it's frustrating to me, because you should not ever have to be in the position of forcibly advocating for your own health. The professional who's supposed to be guiding you through this, they're the ones who should be making sure that you are safe. But unfortunately, there are a lot of toxic practices in fitness, and I'm sure we've all encountered them. And sometimes you really do need to be able to advocate for yourself, or to just go, this is clearly not going to be a good fit for me. And never be afraid or ashamed to do that, because the only person who knows your body as well as you do is you. Full stop. And if you know that you need to make certain modifications, then, a real trainer may work with you, gather some additional information about what your injury map is, may have recommendations on how you can strengthen any particular injury-prone area so that you might be able to regain that mobility or that strength. That's fine. That's great. But anybody who tells you to ignore the signals that your body is sending you in favor of just like powering through whatever bullshit is not worth your time. Okay? Just not. All right, my friends. Woo! Well, we've reached the final Tabata. Holy crap. I'd forgotten how intense this was. This has been so great though. All right, final Tabata, my friends. So we're going back to 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, and we are just gonna do one exercise for this. 8 times through, all right? But we're not gonna bounce back and forth between 2 things. And I'm gonna give you 2 options, okay? One is just a slightly more intense version of the other. So, you can either do turtle stands or turtle jumps. So, anytime I say turtle, you know that the first part is rolling back onto those shoulders and then up onto the feet. If you're doing the stand, just stand all the way up and then come all the way back down and roll, okay? If you're doing the jump, roll, use that momentum to jump, land, and repeat. You can even go back and forth depending on how you feel. Honestly, I may do that as well. We're just doing 20 seconds, so you get to really play around, push yourself, and just remember that this is the end of class. So don't be afraid to have fun and to use all that remaining energy, all right? We don't have to save that energy for anything else. We just have to leave it all on the mat. So when you're doing the rock back on your shoulders, I want you to check in on those abdominals because you want them contracted, maintaining that bow position so that you have a rounded spine to rock along, okay? So every time there's a lot of core engagement in this exercise, and sometimes that can get a little lost because momentum goes a fair way to moving us through a lot of this. But you do want to make sure that you are keeping that contraction in your abdominals the whole time. Oh my goodness. And lots of breathing. Don't forget to breathe the whole time. I jumped the gun on the timer there a little bit. Oh well, it happens. And again, this is the end of class. This is the last set that we will have to do. Well, I mean, this isn't. This is the 4th set that we will have to do. But the last overall timer that we will have to do. So we are not worrying about maintaining any stamina for the rest of the class. We are just gonna let it all out. That's what you came here for. You came here for a cardio class, and that is hopefully what you're getting. All right, we're halfway through. Holy crap. So just 4 more before we are done, which is just amazing to me. Holy crap. It is so nice to be back and to be in front of the camera again and teaching class again. And you know, this is an intense class, and I had forgotten how intense it is. And it's definitely gonna take me some time to work back up to my previous stamina. But again, perfect is the enemy of good. I'm not trying to be perfect. I am trying to take care of myself, take care of my health, and just feel good. All right, so we're going into our last 2 sets. So now is the time that we bust out our cheerleaders. and set them on the floor. Next to your mat, next to your computer, your TV, whatever you are using to stream this class. They are doing their best floor routines. They're throwing their pom-poms all over the place because they know, as well as I do, that you showed back up after a very long absence and you came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum. You're all out of bubble gum and you are going to take this feeling and you are going to power the rest of your week with it. Good job, everybody. Oh, okay. Okay. Everyone, let's slow our breathing, all right? So I want you to work on big, slow inhale, slow exhale. So the way that we get our heart rate down after we finish an intense set like that, we want to first focus on our breath because our breath signals our heart that it needs to go slower or faster, you know? So if I'm over here and then my heart's like, oh my God, we must be working really hard. I need to pump really fast to make sure I'm moving that oxygen all the way through the system. If I then start to lengthen my breath, my heart goes, oh, okay, cool. It seems like the emergency is passed and I can start going back down to a more normal rate, all right? And that's one of the things that we really build up when we do high intensity interval training is that ability to really quickly bring your breathing back under control and bring your heart rate back under control, okay? So that's always a really fun thing to pay attention to the more that you take class. Just see how you're able to improve that. Let's just do a couple of standing stretches, I think, for today. I'm not going to do a huge stretching routine at this moment, because again, this is us getting back into the swing of things. But I do want you to put a hand on your nearest wall or surface that's tall enough. Take the opposite foot back into your other hand. Pull that heel as close into your butt as you can. And we're doing a nice standing quad stretch. You can do this as a balance, but I always recommend having a hand, even if you can maintain the balance, because it just allows you to focus in on the stretch itself rather than having to split your attention between the stretch and the balance, okay? All right, let that foot come down. Other side, same thing. Always remember when we're doing stretching, deep breaths, okay? Because what we don't want to do as we're stretching is give the brain any reason to think that it needs to activate that muscle, because what's it going to do when it tries to activate that muscle? It's going to try and convince it to contract. And stretching is lengthening by definition. So we don't want the brain to go, oh, you're trying. You don't want the little clippy of the brain to come out and be like, I see you're trying to use that quad. Would you like me to contract it for you? Because you don't want that. All right? Let's let our arms swing back and forth a little bit. I'm not trying to shove them in any one direction. I'm just getting good rhythm going, good momentum going. And then I'm going to take one arm out to the side and then bring it across my chest, grab it just above the elbow and pull that upper arm as close in as possible. I'm getting a nice stretch in the shoulder and coming down into the tricep a little bit. All right, and again, nice breaths. All right, measured, calm. Hopefully nobody is still at this point. And then release the arms, Let them swing back and forth again. And other side. All right, oh yeah. And when we do stretching sequences, you will start to notice differences in your flexibility, in how the muscle feels when it's being stretched. Some muscles may be like, what, this is all you got? And some may be like, oh my God, I'm dying. And that's just something for you to start learning about your body. Okay, release. Because we're not symmetrical creatures, and that is okay. And finally, let's do a quick quad stretch. So I'm going to find the nearest wall and just put my palms flat on it. And then I'm going to bend that front knee, bring the other leg straight behind me, and my goal is to get that heel down to the floor while keeping the leg straight. So that's going to give me a nice calf stretch. If you need a little assistance getting that heel down to the floor, that's why we have our hands on the wall, so you can apply a little pressure and deepen the stretch, okay? Again, deep breaths. We don't want to freak the muscle out and make it think that it's supposed to be contracting, okay? Keep those hips square to the wall in front of you, okay? Nice deep breaths, and then step forward and other side. And again, you may find that you can bring your second leg farther back, or you may find that you can't bring it back as far. And there's no right or wrong answer. There's just knowing where your flexibility is on any given side for any given exercise. And, you know, if you want to work towards evening that flexibility, that's absolutely something that can be worked towards. But don't be afraid that something's wrong with you, because nothing's wrong with you. Basically, is what we're coming back to. All right. Oh my goodness, my friends. My friends. Choo-choo! What a class. Wow. It has been a long time. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little freaked out coming up here to set everything up, but it is so much fun to be back and to be teaching. Yeah, I'm really excited to get back into the swing of this. And honestly, I feel like it will be easier to maintain class during fall and winter anyway, just because, everything sort of contracts then anyway. And given the way that current pandemic-related things seem to be trending, we may end up needing to spend a lot of time alone in our homes again. So good to have this class available, good to have exercise, community, a place to gather where we're not, we are working to strengthen ourselves and to improve our stamina and to demonstrate our own personal power to ourselves. We're not working to become perfect. I'm not over here focusing on training Olympic athletes. My goal is to work with people who just want to have exercise as a tool in their toolbox for a healthy life. And if that sounds like you, if you enjoyed this class, then this is going to be the right spot for you. Yay! Yeah. Make sure you're drinking water. Oh my God. All right, my friends. I have to cook dinner and, take a shower and all that jazz. But thank you so much for joining me back on the channel. Oh my goodness. It is a pleasure to be back. And there will be one more class this week. And that's going to be Functional Home Fitness on Friday, also at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So in case you missed this online, all of my afternoon classes, and there's only 2 right now, but even if I added any more in, are going to be have 5:30 p.m. start times. It gives me time to get done at work and have a little bit of a buffer before I need to teach. So right now, the weekly schedule is Wednesdays and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Mountain,
Wednesdays, we generally are doing jump around, our weekly cardio class. Fridays, we do functional home fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. So definitely join for that class. I'll be excited to see what I end up using for it as equipment. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. I am woefully behind on uploading. I have a lot of VODs from like June that haven't been uploaded yet, but I finally got myself an external drive so that I can stop clogging up my my memory with all of the raw files. So there'll be a swath of classes going up very soon, so definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I have a Ko-fi account for one-time donations, or you can subscribe to this channel if you're able to support a little bit more long-term. And if you want to help keep growing this channel and this community, then please tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. Currently, I'm streaming 2 days a week, but we have got a great community here, and the more the merrier, as always. And now, make sure to finish your water, refill it, and drink some more. Make sure to take that celebratory post-workout shower. Make sure to get some food, start replenishing your glycogen stores, and I will see you back here again on Friday. Mwah! Have a great night.